Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass the Move. And for today's episode, we are here with the beginning of a new series. AC Milan, of course, a very interesting team to take over for obvious reasons. It's always an interesting club to take over regardless of the circumstances. But they are an interesting team, particularly to take over right now because of their situation and their history. So we are a Europa League team, qualified for Europa League in the previous season in 6th place. And of course, the aim is to turn this sleeping giant into an actual Italian top team and just a consistent title winner, just to help them win the title and of course compete for Champions League as much as we can. Now, of course, the talent is there. It's all a case of turning them into a top team. There's definitely need for investment still, but I reckon there's very good talent to actually qualify for Champions League football, if not more. Of course, going straight from 6th into Serie A winners is a huge leap, but we're going to be trying our best, basically, and have the minimum expectation of which the board have set, which is to qualify for Europa League, and that's all that matters. In terms of the so in terms of the actual Europa League current season, the expectation is to reach the final. We're currently in the playoff second leg, so we haven't reached the group stages just yet, but I expect us to. Now, of course, what makes this team or save even more interesting is that how Gattuso, their former player, has turned them into a very decent team in recent matches. At least they're performing really well. He's turned their season around. Of course, we're yet to see how it will end for him and for the season itself. But it's inspired me even more to actually take over AC Milan. They're definitely one of the more interesting teams to take over in Italy. Inter Milan, not so interesting because they're doing quite well in real life. Napoli as well, doing quite well in real life. It's just to try and do our best to them and see what can go on. So of course, a couple of things have happened. We've gone through the pre-season friendlies, we've gone through a couple of Europa League games. So I felt like today's game against Juventus is more important, and we'll be showing you back-to-back games against Juventus as well as Roma. So it's not just an intro sort of thing. We want to be showing you both these huge games, back-to-back games, and of course, we'll just quickly go through some of the things that we can talk about, and you can pretty much get introduced to the squad as a whole as we play. A couple of these friendlies here didn't go too well. We played against Altak in the Europa League, a draw in the beginning, and then a 5-1 win in the second leg, and pretty much, as you can tell, afterwards just straight up greens. And I'll explain in just the reason, but just so you get an idea of how we're tactically set up. We're set up with this formation here that most teams in the Premier League seem to be playing with recently, particularly Chelsea and Arsenal, I suppose. I've never really played with a 3-man backline or a 5-man backline, whichever way you want to talk about it. It just seemed to make the most sense to bring out the best out of the squad. So the staff member that I trust the most is actually Filippo Galli, our head of youth development. My assistant manager is decent in terms of judgment of ability, but I feel like Filippo Galli is best. So I just pretty much set it up as is, as you can see, all current ability in all positions, and I tried to create a formation where it seemed to make the most sense to bring out the best out of my current set of players. So Andre Silva is a very decent player, but I have a kind of a rule where I don't, change a formation up other than unless the players have very good ratings. So Nicola, Bonaventura, Suso, Lucas and Kessi, pretty much the players I'm trying to build a side around, as well as Bonici, Musacchio and Romagnoli. I'm going to struggle with these names without doubt, but yeah, that's the kind of way that I try and build my teams with. So that's kind of have gone about it. So that's why I went with the striker, went with 2 wingers. My fullbacks are comfortable playing as wingbacks instead, so I've gone with that. And Bonaventura is definitely, it seemed to make more sense to put him out wide on the left since there's no one as good as him. Attacking midfield didn't seem to have that good of a talent for me to change an entire formation just for it. And of course, not too much depth there either. Defensive midfield is just Lucas, but he can play in central midfield equally as well, so we've moved him there. We've got Frank Kessi just as good as well. A 3-man backline also made sense because of Bonucci, Musacchio and Romagnoli, all very good for the side, and made sense to try and squeeze them into the same starting 11. So that's kind of it. So that's why I've gone with the tactic. We're going to try and play possession type of football. Initially, I thought playing direct seemed to make the most sense. We're playing quite a bit of a a couple of defenders and seem to try make sense to try and knock the ball forward as quickly as possible and use our width. But that's pretty much where the preseason changed. So that was the first 3 games, not very convincing performances or wins, or even our win wasn't that convincing. And even when we played the first leg, that I was still using the same direct football tactic. But then it kind of hit me, we don't really have wingers, which was a huge deal, actual natural wingers. I'm not talking about inside forwards. And so it made sense that the reason tactic wasn't working, and so I switched it to possession type of football, which is quite, defensive, I suppose. We play on defensive mentality or counter, so that we're not playing too direct. And at the same time, shorter passing and dribbling less. What we're trying to avoid overall, the style of play that we're trying to avoid, is players that we don't want players that dribble too often. We don't want players that cross too often, and we don't want players that shoot too often. So an advanced playmaker, for example, has naturally an instruction to avoid shooting. Inside forwards don't cross, they do dribble, and so as an advanced forward dribble, which is why I've instructed the dribble less team instruction. And of course, there's some changes that we eventually want to make, but seem to make the most sense. And as you can see in the schedule, it's reflected by the results. But of course, I'm not fussed by the type of formation I use or the type of tactic I use. It's all about trying to get the best out of my current set of players, and that's why I've gone with this. I'm actually more comfortable than ever using a 4-2-3-1 formation. It's a formation that I normally use most, but we're going to give this a go and see how it goes. But yeah, I'm not fussed. Attacking football, defensive football, possession football, direct football. It's all about what works best for the players. And it seemed to make sense that direct football didn't really work. The reason why I concluded so early in the preseason, we haven't really played any serious matches, is just because I'm a type of manager that, like I mentioned, doesn't care about how we play, but I care about how we create our chances. And we were struggling to create chances in the direct style of play. I don't think we created a single clear-cut chance across multiple games, and so it just got to the point where I thought, okay, that's it. I can deal with creating chances, but my players not finishing it, and therefore we lose a match. That I can deal with. But as a manager, I'm supposed to set up my players in the best possible way for them to create chances in order for them to win games from. And so we've, once I've switched into counter, the goals started flooding in, and the creating chances started to work much better as well. So this is kind of it. But yeah, in terms of my best starting 11, already talked about very generally, but we've got very decent backup players. In terms of transfer history, not really much going on. We've got a couple of loans out and a couple of sold off players. Really just trying to get rid of some dead wood. We've got incredible amounts of dead wood in truth. Crouton or Patrick isn't actually dead wood, but unfortunately we've got the 2 strikers that we need. I like 2 players per position, and so Patrick's just going to go out on loan to improve and then come back to us a much better player, hopefully. I've also brought in Predrag from I forgot which team it was, Maccabi Tel Aviv, and just 6 million. I like to build, when I build a team, I like to build it from the back. So I start with a goalkeeper, go through the defense, go into the central midfield, and so on and so forth. And so I've brought in a better goalkeeper. Of course, we have one of the world's best in terms of potential with Gianluigi here, but I thought he needed a backup that we can alternate with. He's already youngster of potential, but he's definitely a starting player, and so I just brought up someone who's a youngster of potential as well alongside him to compete with him, and both players are definitely going to try and become the #1 goalkeeper. But for now, Gianluigi is our top choice at the moment. But as you can see from Predrag, he's got plenty of potential himself too. So that's kind of it. I feel like everything else you kind of get accustomed with already. I just want to kind of get into the game. Of course, in terms of money, we didn't have much at all, so pretty much 15 million once we started off. I've managed to secure some of the players that I want to hold on to contracts, like Suso, for example, and Calabria. But that's kind of it. Everyone else, we're just trying to move on as soon as possible. The depth, as you can see on our substitutes bench, not that great. Most of these players are just good players for the division. They're not actual leading players, which is what we're aiming for. But yeah, Bonaventura injured. He's out for 2 to 4 weeks. Conti as well, 6 to 7 months. But we already have 2 right backs, so it's okay. Once he comes back, though, that will be an area where we need to consider. Lucas should be back soon enough as well. And just Lucas and Bonaventura, who are our first teamers, so we need them back as soon as possible. So I think there you go. We can kind of just get into today's game, play against Juventus, play against Roma, and see whether we can kick off this season well. A lot of these players still have to get used to the tactic, and familiarity overall needs some work too. But this is the original setup. Got 2 other tactics where it's just the instructions that change in the mentality, really. Formation stays the same though, and that's it. We've got Bonucci in the middle, Romagnoli and Musacchio on either side, Donnarumma as a goalkeeper, and you can pretty much see all the other instructions or setup as is. Let's get into it. Wasted enough time as is, and some of these players like Nicola and Hachim Mastura are definitely not going to be in the first team. They're just there because, of course, the injuries that we suffered to other first team players. And once I get the opportunity, they'll be sent back to the youth squads, and that's it. So Juventus playing with a 4-2-3-1, very sort of standard modern football formation, I suppose. We're going with this formation here, which is going to be a bit of a struggle to deal with. I'm going to eventually work towards moving my team into a 4-3-3 formation. It's definitely the best formation when you're trying to play possession football, and so that's why I'm going to try and eventually build towards it. But for now, this is the best way to deal with my squad. And Juventus are going to be, they're going to have to be at their best to try and deal with this especially wide talent, I suppose. But very good players, of course, themselves, and we're going to have to be our best as well to deal with them. And it's going to definitely be a huge and incredible game. We're not favourites for today's game, so we need to try and inspire our players, and let's hope we can do that now. Just some tactical tweaks I want to make before the game. Borini is actually better as a Rodomentor. He's definitely very good as an inside forward, but Rodomentor actually suits us tactically because, they cross less often and they don't dribble in the same way that an inside forward would dribble, as it says there. Dribble more. So we're going to go switch into a Rodomentor, and I think that's pretty much it. I think everyone else is kind of comfortable with their roles, and let's hope that Borini can prove his worth as a Rodomentor. Let's go. So yeah, a bunch of things really to work on. Sorry, I actually forgot to. We want replays on goal, and as on 3D as a director, and commentary, key highlights, 2D during highlights, and 3D during the replays. I feel like that's the best balance. Okay, that's great. 24 seconds in, and Juventus have already scored. We're going to get a chance to see it in 3D, but not the best of starts to the season. And to the game itself. Cuadrado doing really well. I was just talking about them dealing with our wide play, but we're struggling to deal with their wide play. And Higuain can quickly grab probably one of the quickest goals of the season so far. I would expect. I don't know why we're seeing a replay again, so let's skip that. But yeah, so like I mentioned, what I eventually want to build towards is a 4-3-3-1, a Rodomentor on one flank and an advanced playmaker on one flank. We want wing-backs behind them, not as high as they're currently playing, full-backs as wing-backs, that kind of thing. Not too great of a set piece. Kessie can pick up the pieces first up, and instead it's Pjanic first, and Cuadrado, the player who tortured us last time, can try again, and Juventus trying to hit us on the counter-attack from our own corner. Let's deal with this, please. Mandzukic, and that's in as well. This is not looking too good. We're playing with 3 centre-backs and 2 wing-backs, and yet we can't handle Juventus's threat already. Despite our 67% possession, it's Juve hitting us on the counter again. And that is not good to see. We should be able to deal with the threat of counters, considering we always have 3 men back at least. Not to mention our deep line playmaker, Locatelli, who's the backup to our main deep line playmaker, who of course is missing today, that we mentioned earlier today. So yeah, we want a Rodomentor on one flank and an advanced playmaker on the other flank. We don't want an advanced forward because they dribble too much. I think I'd prefer a poacher, or maybe we can even look towards having someone that builds the game a little bit more for us, such as a false 9. That'd be a decent shout too. We want our central midfielders, one box-to-box midfielder and one Mesler, I feel like, or an advanced playmaker possibly. And the defensive midfield can pretty much be a standard anchorman. I feel like that role's the best in terms of possession football. And then centre-backs, just normal centre-backs, 1 central defender, 1 ball-playing defender. Wing-backs, like we mentioned, full-backs on wing-back on attack. And just a standard goalkeeper, I feel like, will be the tactic that we're trying to aim towards. But Juventus is very attacking. We're playing defensive, by the way. But we're still being unable to deal with the threat, and you can kind of tell why. They just kept the 2 centre-backs back, and that's it. Far more attacking than I thought. They've had plenty more shots. But I think we'll grow into the game a bit more, and at half-time, when I can tell off my players, we'll do a bit better. Mandzukic with the header, very decent one. Locatelli can pick up the pieces. What can the deep line playmaker do? Lobs it forward to Borini. Rodomentor allowed to roam wherever he wants, really, and he does well to find our main striker. What's he going to do? Is he going to go solo? Loses the ball to Chiellini instead, and Cuadrado once more helping his team get going. Dybala. This does not look good. Higuain by himself, easy to deal with as is, but we need some more shots to go in our favour, and more importantly, we need some more chances going in our favour, because I'm not liking the current look of this game. Kessie, though, trying to change that for us. Borini. He's got his wing back if need be, and again he loses the ball, but Locatelli doing well to pick up the pieces, and I feel like we can't deal with the pressure they're setting on us. So passing to space as he's just done there might be a good instruction to set my players on. Abate to Borini, and it's 2-1. Assistant manager runs back. That is not offside. And we're gonna possibly head into the break with a better goal, a better result than we maybe deserve. But really good ball from Suso. Abate actually does overlap him from once, which is what we're looking for. Good header from the striker, and Borini, more importantly, converts when needed. But yeah, Milan definitely have some strange future transfers coming in, namely Borini. We've got this guy here coming in as well, but he's definitely a good talent. You know, he's already our first choice striker, but it just doesn't make sense some of the future transfers they made. I mean, Borini is definitely someone I wouldn't have bought in, and I think we can do better in our transfer windows than you know, AC Milan have done before we arrived. So not favourites, not performing well enough though, so we can tell our players off and hope to see a better reaction in the second half. It's good to see us grab a goal, but gonna need more than that to beat Juventus. But you know, for all their shots and somewhat equal possession, Juventus have only had 2 half chances, and I don't think they've threatened as much as they would have liked. They've been very clinical with their chances. To score 2 goals from not a single clear-cut chance is a very good job, of course, and I think they just have experienced a good day, but we want to try and change that around, and we've got that here. Locatelli. Ooh, Kessie. Maybe we should be doing a bit better there, but that was a nice little mess we created for them, and I think let's go into counter to switch these to be a bit more attacking, I suppose, than we have been. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be saying, you know, how can you play possession football on such a low mentality? But it's actually the opposite of what most people believe. You know, it doesn't mean because you know, it's very difficult to be attacking and keep possession. If you're being attacking, you're definitely being more risk-taking, you're definitely being more direct, and in that sense, that means you're not keeping possession, and so, you know, it's not like what most people think it is. Now, Montolivo's actually supposed to be a backup to Kessie, but Locatelli is very tired for some reason, and he's on a yellow, so I'm going to take him off for Montolivo instead. Rodriguez is having a poor game, and you know, wingbacks are quite important to us, so I'm kind of tempted to take him off, but I'd rather save the substitutions for more attacking changes, like taking off, I think I'll do that now actually, Suso for Hakan, and play Hakan as an advanced playmaker on support. And that's it. I think Nikolai will save that last change. He's played decently, an assist for him. We'll bring on Silva is definitely the change we want to make. So I'm hoping none of my defenders force me into substituting them off. We've got the likes of Abate and Rodriguez both struggling, not only with fitness, but performance-wise, particularly Rodriguez not doing too well. So clock keeps ticking down, no real highlights. Let's make some changes. We'll go pass into space. We want our players to be more expressive and roam from positions. Let's see if that will add a little bit more to our game, I suppose. The shots have definitely improved, and shots on target and everything, but no highlights to show, which is not encouraging. We'll make that last substitution now. Nicola for Silva. Definitely a very, very good backup to have. You know, he's a bit unfortunate to be a backup. It's just the overall formation of the team suited the formation we're using now, rather than a 2-man striker. And I think, to be honest, when it comes to Silva, I'll eventually retrain him to be a left winger, so that you know, our current striker, his backup can be the player that we mentioned earlier, who's out on loan, getting some game time. So not too happy still, so I'm going to go into overload. We're going to look to work the ball into the box a bit more and hope that improves our performances. And highlight, before I've even made that tactical change, and I have to hope it's in our favour instead of Juventus's. Buffon on the ball. They're playing a bit risky. Can we put the pressure on them, eventually lobbed forward? And I think we should win this comfortably. And apparently I'm mistaken for thinking that. Higuain through. I really genuinely can't believe that 3 defenders just made that mistake there. 3 of them, not just one. You know, the other player was preoccupied with something else, for example. There's 3 of them with literally a single player to deal with. One lob ball. Buffon's going to get an assist now, which is the most ridiculous thing. They all just stand there, play, for some reason try and play an offside trap when I don't play an offside trap. Just got a standard goalkeeper as well, not a sweeper keeper, so he was never coming out for that. And I think Juventus are getting far more than they deserve from this game, and are perhaps a little bit lucky that we haven't really adjusted to our new tactics yet, and it'll take some time definitely, but this is an early blow, and the hopes are that we can recover against Roma in just a moment, but 3-1 doesn't read too well for us. One clear-cut chance for Juventus, scored 3 goals, 4 half chances for us who scored 1 goal. Not a good day at all. We did not show our ability to challenge for the title today, which is an early opportunity to, but of course plenty of games left, we can still recover. The hopes to do that against Roma, and the players are going to have to adjust much more quicker than they have so far if we have any hopes of improving our performances. So we've got Nice in 4 days. We won't be showing you that, we'll be showing the game after, of course, and yeah, so just hold on, we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back, guys, and we're here with Roma, of course. Now a tiny little bit update, of course, on that Nice game. A very decent Nice team that we managed to beat 7-1 on aggregate. Andrea Silva there with the hat-trick, and Matteo there as well with a little goal in the 20th minute too. But we're very much in the Europa League now in the group stages. We're playing a bunch of teams here, as you can tell. I think pretty easy group. We should get through into the next stages, but there are definitely some top teams like Arsenal that we may need to beat if we want any hopes of winning the Europa League. Now, of course, that is a route to get into the Champions League if we don't, do it through the league itself. But hopes are that we can do both, really. But yeah, that's kind of it. The only real update. The other update is our transfer history once more. We managed to bring in another player, Aaron from Espanyol. 10 million we've spent on him, but it's 5 million up front, 5 million over 48 months or whatever, so it's not really anything. He's 20 years old, suited to the Serie A, a better, a youngster, backup youngster potential basically is what we needed. Rodriguez is considered the leading player for most Serie A sides, so we're just looking for a better backup for him than our other option, which is Luca Antonelli. He's a 30-year-old Italian on 47k wages for until 2019. We didn't really need someone like that. Not only is he old, he's also just a good player. He's not going to improve in terms of potential. He's got susceptibility to injuries as well, which is another problem. So just kind of all ticked off. We're paying our new signing half the wages, and our new signing actually has potential to be a star for our club. And so we've moved on Luca, who's already being transferred, but I don't think I actually have the money yet because he's moving to China, and I won't get that 7 million I think that we sold him for until January. So unfortunately I can't use that for anyone else, but there is hope before the January transfer window shuts that I can bring in just another centre back again, just for the sake of better depth, because our current options such as let's have a look here. Gomez is actually a decent option, but someone like Zapata, for example, is just a good player, again susceptible to injuries. He's not improving, 30 years of age, too high wages if you ask me. So it just all kind of adds up that we bring in better rotational players that actually have a future at the club, rather than keeping players that we don't necessarily need. But yeah, Gustavo Gomez is a decent example, 24 years of age, good player for most Serie A sides, and he has a hint more potential where he can become leading if he actually gets the game time as well as if he performs. So a couple of players back in now. We've got Donnarumma. We've rested some players, but unfortunately not all of them have recovered in time for today's game. Palata is playing instead of Matteo, who's struggling a tiny bit for fitness. Don't want to risk him. We've still got the likes of Bonici and Alessio Romagnoli, who are of course our first choice players, so we should be okay in the centre of defence. Abate and Aaron's going to be thrown straight away into the first starting 11. Because again, Ricardo Rodriguez, our actual first choice left back, couldn't recover in time for the game. He's definitely still fit. It says match fit, but again, injury risk is high. I don't want to play that. Locatelli, unfortunately, is going to be one of the players who's kind of tired, but will have to play because his actually the first team player like we mentioned, which is Lucas here, is still injured, so Locatelli is going to continue. We've got Kessie alongside him, so it should be a decent, very decent partnership. We've got Suso back in the side. Dropped him for the Nice game. Hopefully he can recover today because he's been in poor form. I'm trying to see if that me dropping him will get a reaction out of him or not. Borini still playing, of course, because our first choice Bonaventura is not recovered yet. We've thrown also Nicola back into the team. We dropped him as well for the game. As you can tell, Silva's done incredibly well and kind of deserves to start today. But we've still got Nicola, who will hopefully still, again, react the same way as Suso, hopefully, if both those players can perform today against Roma. then we'll definitely get a good result here. But Aaron, and a debut for him, and you know, we need good performances all around, so hopefully we can see one from him too. But yeah, Roma playing with a 4-3-3, the formation that we talked about that we eventually want to build towards. Very decent team, of course, and we're going to have to be at our best to try and take them apart in hopefully a better manner than we did against Juventus. Again, we're not favourites, we're away from home, so that's kind of a bit more understandable than the Juventus game. But we're going to have to try and inspire our players today rather than demand a good performance, because they're not favourites, of course. And let's see whether they've improved a little bit more or not. Okay, so let's go on to the... set the game up again. Actually, there's something tactically that I forgot to do again. Now, the reason why I keep on inside forward is actually because our first team player is an inside forward, but Barini we have to keep remembering to switch to Rodamantor just to get that tiny bit more out of him. Well, hopefully at least. But that's kind of it. That's the only change we need to make. So let's see. And Roma get us going. Locatelli with the early interception. Kessie goes back safely to Romagnoli, keeping possession, of course, like we mentioned. And Locatelli can pick up the pieces once more. What can the Italian youngster do? Of course, highly rated in Milan, and you know, I'm looking forward to turning him into a top player, but at the moment Lucas is definitely the better player, and just makes more sense to keep him as a backup and give him a game here and there, and see him improve. Kessie with the ball forward. Barini, what can he do? Goes back to Kessie, but it's a poor ball, and Niangolan tries to pick up the pieces. It's a bad ball by him as well. We're going to have to be a bit smarter with the way we play. Abate on the overlap, picks up the ball, back to Locatelli, and again we're just keeping possession quite well. No one necessarily taking too big of a risk, we're just trying to shift them around, which we're doing quite well. Striker through to Suso. Early chance that you would argue is like the game says, a clear-cut chance, and Suso should be doing better. We could have been up 1-0 within 8 minutes, but we have another chance through the set piece, and Suso can make amends through the cross itself. What can he do? Goes to Barini instead. Out to Kessie. What's he going to do? Oh, that's a decent ball, I guess, but Barini did look offside. And Gonolons instead. We've overplayed the set piece a bit too much for my liking. And hopefully we can do better with the next one. Suso does well to win the ball back. Bonici's there as always. Ball playing defender. Safely forward to Kessie. Come on then. We've got here Suso playing as an inside forward. Very happy to drop into midfield as well if he wants to. He kind of has the freedom to do that. Takes the ball forward. Dribbles through almost everyone. It's through to... oh, come on. That's a second clear-cut chance. Has to be. The game doesn't consider it. But, unless I was offside. But, you know, again, our player, Nicholas, was it? Nicola, rather, should be doing much better than making a case for me to substitute him early on for Silva, who scored, of course, a hat-trick, like we mentioned, against Nice, and will definitely be fired up to prove his worth again. Oh, early chance for Roma, and they make no mistake to score theirs in comparison to us. They grabbed the first goal of the game through a Kolarov cross, which we should have dealt with arguably better, considering we're playing with a 5-man backline, of course. I'm tempted to move my wing-backs into their full-back positions instead. And, you know, these games against Juventus and Roma are actually very, you know, tempting me to do that. I think our players will find each other a bit more if we do that too. I was hoping that, you know, high wing backs would work in our favour, but not like this. Oh, that is a hell of a goal from Niangolan. I'm actually a bit excited to see it in 3D, but again, conceding poor goals that we really shouldn't. And Roma are going 2-0 up very much in the same way that Juventus did. Our wing back is there to deal with the threat. We've got all 3 centre backs in the defence as well. I guess no one really comes out to meet Niangolan well enough, and with that split second that he had extra, managed to find the bottom corner with that long shot of his, of course. If we have a look here, I think it might pop up. No, it's not actually showing. But anyways, set piece for us. Suso with the delivery again. Romagnoli's under it, and it's 2-1. This game's definitely not done and dusted yet, as Roma may have hoped. A really good set piece is what I've trained the players to do. You know, the match tactics that you can set your players up with. Or match training, rather. I did attack set pieces. It's kind of helped us. We're still not favourites for the game, but definitely upsetting to go down 2-0 down so quickly. And so poorly as well. I can deal with good goals like Nyangolan's one. I can kind of deal with, even though we should close them down. But still, Paletta under the ball again. Another set piece, and Bonici scores. This time it's 2-2. Milan, Roma rather, must be wondering what on earth is going on as we punish them twice through set pieces. I think that's kind of proof that I've set my players up well in terms of the set pieces. I guess we've just got really good movement. Players don't know how to deal with us. We've got everyone in all sorts of positions. And yeah, Roma looking nervous. I guess we don't get the opportunity to see our body language, but it's good to see them nervous. And Dzeko in particular struggling against 3 centre backs. So it's good to see. 2-2 is the result. We need to try and inspire them into another goal. I think it's definitely, this is the one to go with. We need to see more of a reaction from our players. I think I'm going to go into counter for the second half. And then if need be, around the same time that I normally make substitutions, around the 60th minute, we can look to make some more tactical changes as well. But yeah, wing-backs need to do a bit more better. We're pushing them high up so that they can actually, do well and perform well, be a bit more attacking. But if they're struggling to overlap our players, struggling to perform well, it just doesn't even make any sense to keep them. Anyways, 60th minute, so we can look to make some changes. Both our midfielders are tired, and it makes sense. They're playing 2 midfielders against, a 3-man midfielder in Roma. So they're going to have to do a huge workload, but I can only really substitute one of them. You know what, I'll just drop Hakan into central midfield instead. We'll keep Montolivo, play an advanced playmaker here. Suso was a bit tired, which we could have taken him off for Hakan, but we'll make the change of Nicola later on for Silva, of course, who should be hopefully our last change. We'll go into the pass into space, be more expressive, and roam from positions instructions. See if that adds to it a little bit. Before we even make that change, though, the highlight shows. So is in our favour or not? Abate, really good clearance. Nicolas through here and clear. If he can score, he doesn't, and that's definitely going to substitute him off for Silva. You'd argue Silva would have scored, making me regret that I've played him. I tried to show some faith in him by picking him for today's game, even though he's out of form. Barini also underperforming, so I'm going to switch him to the inside forward role, see if that can help him perform a bit better. Maybe not enjoying being a Rodomantor today. He can definitely play as an inside forward anyways. So let's see if we can get that much bit more out of him. We'll also work the ball into the box a bit. Nope, Suso also picking up a knock at a time that's really not ideal, because we will have to play with 10 men when we're trying to win the game, really. Did I change Hakan to play as an advanced playmaker? Because that was, yep. Alright. Not the strongest midfield pairing either. We're playing a 2-man midfield, which I actually prefer to play a central midfielder on defend duty and advanced playmaker on support duty. I feel like that's the best partnership when you're playing a 2-man midfield. Unfortunately, I don't have the players to do that, and we're going to have to try and make amends through our wide play. So we're going to go into overload, sorry. See if that can inspire another goal. Immediate highlight to that, so Hakan can still make something happen here. Is he going to go out to Suso? Let's not lose it though. It goes back to Abate instead. It's a good safe ball to do, but Abate gives it right back, and Hakan can go to Suso again. Can he deliver the cross? Barini's there. Down to Silva, and he doesn't score. It's hit the crossbar. 4 clear-cut chances to Roma's 0. But instead, we still find ourselves drawing in a game that we should arguably be winning. Let's go into take more risks, see if that helps us a bit more. I think we definitely deserve to win the game. And our early struggles in defence are going to cost us here by the looks of it. It's going to be 2-2 against the Roma side, who are favourites, so it's a decent result. But I definitely would have liked to pick up the 3 points, especially after losing to Juventus. But definitely my players were a bit unlucky. Definitely need to perform a bit better. Nicolas is going to be dropped for the next game, that's without a doubt. And in terms of when the next game is, we'll have a look at the schedule in just a moment. But I think if you guys have watched my previous saves and career modes and all that sort of business, I like to generally just play according to the month. So August, the fixtures for the month were obviously Roma and Juventus, even though we had Europa League games. The fixtures that to look out for in September, of course, are from Udinese here to this team here in the Europa League. So we've got a couple of decent games, I suppose. I don't want to show Europa League games until, you know, we advance further. Doesn't make any sense. We'll probably show you against Genoa or Sassuolo. Spal's a very decent team as well, who've just been promoted, so it might be one to look out for. Udinese is a bit too close to my liking. Of course, it's very early on in the season to actually tell which games are crucial or not. And it might make sense to, you know, because we just played 2 games to show you when we've developed the season a bit more. So maybe Spal playing against a newly promoted team will be an interesting one. Let me have a look at the season preview, but I think they have, yeah, they are one of the promoted teams. So probably Spal, but let's see what happens. So I think that's all for today's episode. If you did enjoy it, of course, please hit the like button and subscribe for more Daily Football Manager 2018 content. And of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, guys, thank you all very much for watching.